Hi, good morning. Maybe good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are.
Hi.
Hi, Hikari. Are you in Japan or?
Yeah, now I'm in Japan, so
It's evening, night.
9:30 p.m.
And where are you in Japan? Tokyo?
Tokyo. So recently, I successfully get my own laboratory.
Oh, congratulations!
So, thank you very much. So now I prepared my laboratory, and
awesome!
Yeah, the timing is very nice. And as you may know, so Yoshi Fukada sensei just retired.
Yeah.
So he kindly gave me many machine or some resource.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Thank you.
So today I have a Zoom meeting with Yoshi, and Yoshi say hello to you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
So when I talked with Yoshi, today I have a meeting, and then Sachin will talk in this Zoom meeting. So
hi, Michael. Is that the way to call it? You want to be called?
Today?
No, I was.
Sorry?
I was trying to talk to Michael.
Michael.
Yeah. Oh, maybe he has muted. Okay. Seems like it's only 4 of us. Okay, so then that makes it easy. Maybe we'll wait for a few minutes.
I do not understand what this meeting room.
So this discussion room, I'll do a very short presentation and then it will be open for discussion. You can ask questions, discuss. And they said that sometimes, since it's a odd timing, it's 5 o'clock in California now, 5:30. There may not be enough people, but still, we should do the presentation and do the recording because it's all recorded, I guess, and then they'll put it on the on their website. Okay. So. Hi, maybe we can introduce ourselves to everybody. So then, very short introduction. So I am Sachin Panda, a professor at the Salk Institute in La Jolla, California, and my lab works on circadian rhythms. And it has 3 aspects: light, the clock itself, and then how the clock is modulated by food and other stuff, and how it regulates physiology. And Hikari, maybe you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm also chronobiologist, that is a researcher for the circadian clockwork. And then I'm especially focused on the molecular mechanism, how circadian clock oscillate. And also we are interested in the aging, how aging affects the circadian clock, and also how circadian clock affect aging. So 1 year ago, I got a Catalytics Award in this meeting. So today I attended too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And anyone else in the room? Michael, I don't know whether you are logged in.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Michael. Yeah, nice to connect. Michael Rigal, I work at BCG and have an advisory role with Life Biosciences, which was mentioned in this talk. Nice to connect. I've also read your work and heard good things about you, including one item that's particularly of interest given my consulting background, which is Juan Carlos Belmonte told me that you had some results that when you fly mice east, old mice east, their mortality increases, but when they fly west, it's okay. So I think they were simulated results, not actually.
I see. Yeah, we can discuss that. Okay, so what I'll do is maybe I will share my screen. So the way we are asked to do is to give a very short presentation, and then we'll open it for discussion. We'll have a chat. And we are not told how many people may join. So I have a few slides, but please feel free to interrupt me. And let's see whether there will be more people. No. It's possible that it's kicking out many attendees because there was a glitch in the system. So, okay, so let me start with this slide. So, okay. So to put the context of what we do and this challenge that we face. So that is, if a baby was born in the year 1900, then he or she was expected to live up to the age of 47 years of age. And because nearly 5 out of 10 babies died of infectious disease before the age of 10, and then the major cause of death, even among adults, was infectious disease. And the cause of infectious disease was microbes, or pathogens. So that led to vaccines, antibiotics, and sanitation that delayed death. So as a result, in 2020, when a baby is born in any Western world, mostly in Europe and North America, then he or she is expected to live to the age of 79 years of age. But then the unfortunate thing is nearly 1 in 3 adults live 1/3 of our lives with chronic diseases. And the cause of these diseases is considered to be the bad lifestyle choices, along with maybe sometimes bad genetic makeup. And the cure is almost rare or non-existent. So then the question is, what is lifestyle? And lifestyle can be very fuzzy, can be very confusing, as you can see in this slide. But the way we define lifestyle is the quantity, quality, and timing of nutrition, sleep, and exercise every day. This is what we do every day. This is not something that we do as an intervention. And most of us are familiar with the quality and quantity of these factors. What about timing? So the timing relates to the circadian clock or circadian rhythm. For those of you who went to bed around 10 o'clock, your deep sleep happened at 2 o'clock. The body temperature begins to rise 1 or 2 hours before waking up. And after waking up, there is a drop in sleep hormone melatonin, the stress hormone cortisol rises, the bowel movement is most likely in the morning, and the first half of the day, there is much better insulin sensitivity. High alertness is usually around just before noon. Muscle performance peaks in the afternoon. And as the evening rolls in, melatonin would rise, body will cool down and will go back to sleep. And this is what we experience on a daily basis. But at the same time, there are a lot of molecular and cellular mechanisms inside our body that controls these rhythms. And the way we conceptualize clock is just like we have a clock in our brain that lets us when to sleep or when to wake up. We also have clocks almost in every cell and every organ in our body. And the brain clock's function is to orchestrate, act as a master conductor of these peripheral clocks. As a result, we have daily rhythms in physiology, metabolism, behavior, and even our gut microbiome also oscillates every single day. Then the question is, how is this clock connected to the outside world? And almost 20 years ago, we and two other labs discovered that there is a blue light sensitive photoreceptor or light receptor in our retina. And those blue light sensing cells sense blue light, which is rich in daylight, is the richest source of blue light, and that enters this system. So what is the implication? As we spend most of our time indoor with bright screen and bright light at night, That activates this blue light photosensor called melanopsin, and as a result, it disrupts our circadian rhythm, reduces sleep hormone melatonin, and we have poor sleep. In the daytime, we spend most of our time indoor because from cell phones data that we know that we modern humans spend 91% of our time indoor. So the indoor lighting is not sufficient to activate melanopsin to fullest extent. So as a result, we have misaligned circadian rhythm, and it reduces also the indoor lighting. Dim lighting reduces alertness, foggy brain. And as a result, we have sleepless night and foggy brain, and if it continues for many years, many weeks, months or years, then we get closer to many of these affective disorders. So there is a new idea that if we can change our exposure to light, and if we can design better lighting, then that can promote mental health and overall health. The second part about circadian rhythm, how it is connected to the outside world, is a few years ago, we and others discovered that if food is presented at the wrong time, then instead of brain, the food becomes the master conductor of all these peripheral rhythms. And that leads to disrupt circadian rhythm because the peripheral clocks get confused between the signal from the brain connected to the outside world through the retina and light versus the peripheral clocks connected to the outside world through food. And if food is eaten when we are supposed to sleep, that confuses the system. So how does it relate to our modern society? For example, our ancestral rhythms were very robust because our ancestors didn't have access to electrical lighting. They experienced very dark night. They slept almost 8 hours at night. During daytime, there was a lot of physical activity, and the opportunity to eat was limited. So people ate hardly 2 or 3 different meals. And daytime, they also had access to a lot of daylight outdoor. Industrial revolution brought electrical lighting, food production and processing, and infrastructure. Infrastructure is the process to move information, food, waste, and other stuff from one place to another place with minimum human physical activity. So as a result, our modern rhythms are very different. We spend most of our time indoor in dim light. Our sleep is reduced, our physical activity is reduced, our opportunity to eat has increased. And in fact, most nutritionists and a dietitian would tell us that you have to eat in every 2 to 3 hours throughout your wakeful time. As a result, as long as our eyes are open, we keep on eating, our mouth is open. So this causes circadian rhythm disruption. And if it happens for a few days, then it's not a big deal. We'll have mood swings or irritable brain, fragmented sleep. But if it continues for weeks, months, or years, as among shift workers or people who live like a shift worker, then our risk for many of these chronic diseases or metabolic diseases go up. And as we go towards middle-aged and older adults, then as we are more and more exposed to the circadian rhythm disruption, then our risk for many of the life-threatening diseases also go up. So in a way, the idea is if we can fix the circadian clock, what I call training the circadian clock by behavioral modification, then we can reduce this risk for chronic disease that accompany aging. And second is clocking the drugs. Now we know that nearly 85% of the FDA-approved drugs and over-the-counter drugs that targets are circadian. That means optimizing timing of medication can reduce the adverse side effect and increase the efficacy of medication. And third, can we drug the clock? So for example, as we age, our circadian clock may be dampened, and in many diseases, for example, in certain type of cancer, the clock is almost non-existent. So if we reactivate the clock, then that can be a way to treat some of the life-threatening diseases such as cancer and arthritis. So now, how can we bring all of this together? Light, food, exercise, and sleep. So the way we reduce it to practice is through a practice called Circadian Optimization, or of which time-restricted eating is the core. So In many of our clinical trials, we ask our participants to be in bed for at least 8 hours so that they can get 7 hours of restorative sleep. After waking up, wait for 1 or 2 hours to before your first calorie, because that's the time when melatonin goes down and cortisol rises. And high cortisol or moderate or high level of melatonin is not good for our metabolism. And then after the first calorie, eat everything within 8, 10, 11, or 12 hours max, and not more than 12 hours. We call it 8 hours, 9, 10, 11, or 12 hours time-restricted eating. And then 2 to 3 hours before bedtime, avoid bright light and avoid calories. And during daytime, try to be outdoor for at least 30 minutes or more to get both daylight and also to get some physical activity. And the question is, what happens when we do this? There are quite a few preclinical animal studies and numerous pilot clinical trials. Almost 60 of them have been published so far from many labs around the world. And the summary is all of these studies are pointing to the idea that eating within 8 to 10 hours, at least for 5 to 6 days in a week, in most cases, irrespective of diet quality or quantity, we can reduce the risk of a lot of these diseases that are listed here. And this is really exciting because for many diseases, for example, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, there is really no pharmacological cure. So if we can delay the onset or prevent the onset of many of the chronic disease, we can potentially increase healthy lifespan. And with that, we can get back to the discussion and have some Q&A. And there are a few people who have joined meanwhile. If you could introduce yourself. Arvin, Andrew. Okay. Any questions or comments? You can comment on anything, my content, or what I presented, or even what is not presented, but maybe related to circadian rhythm, basic science, translational science, career question, anything. That's what the academy told us. Okay. So maybe I can ask questions then. Can you introduce yourself, Anjo? No. Okay. Hikari, can you tell us a little bit about the aging and circadian stuff that you're doing, or if you have any questions for me?
So time restricted feeding is good for health. Yeah. So in other words, chronic feeding is bad for our health, but that means part of the circadian clock and leading to aging. So I want to know the mechanism. So do you have any idea how chronic feeding part of the circadian clock and leading to aging?
Well, one thing we know is anytime we eat, since most of our food have a good chunk of carbohydrate that can trigger insulin release and also increase in blood glucose. And both, so insulin is known to affect circadian rhythm. There are quite a few publications recently. And when we eat, we also disrupt glucagon signaling, which is the fasting hormone. And we know that glucagon signaling can interact with cry protein. So in that way, both disruption of fasting hormone glucagon and chronic activation of feeding hormone, say insulin, can lead to circadian clock disruption. So that's how chronic eating or randomly eating at any time can disrupt circadian rhythms. And we know that increased insulin is not desirable for aging because there are many animal studies showing reduced insulin signaling promotes healthy aging. So in this way, chronic eating can disrupt aging process by two different ways, one through the circadian clock and one independent of circadian clock.
So in your model, the chronic upregulation of insulin part of the circadian oscillation itself, and then part of leading to part of the circadian output, right?
Well, it's possible it can go that way, but as I said, there is also clock independent mechanism. And we have to keep in mind that although we see nearly say 70 to 80% of the genome may be measured diurnal rhythm, a vast majority of them are driven by feeding fasting rhythm. Because even in the complete absence of a circadian clock, feeding fasting alone can drive daily oscillations of hundreds of genes in the liver itself. So we should not hardware our thought to the idea that anything that cycles throughout the day under a normal feeding fasting cycle goes through circadian clock. Conversely, even in circadian mutant mice, as we had shown recently, time-restricted feeding can restore some rhythms and can increase and improve health by reducing fatty liver disease, improving glycemic control, reducing cholesterol, and even improving endurance, exercise capacity. So all of those happen in the complete absence of a circadian clock. So that's why that points to the idea that not all benefits of time-restricted feeding go through the circadian clock. They can go through the simple mechanism of feeding and fasting induced nutrient sensing pathways. Okay. Welcome, Jessica. You joined. Can you introduce yourself? I see.
Hi, good morning. I am an administrative specialist for the National Academy of Medicine.
Oh, I see.
I'm just here helping. If there's any,
I see.
Just sort of as a help in case there's any issues.
I see. Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else would like to introduce themselves so that we can have a good discussion? Or if you have any question, please feel free. Or Hikari, is it how is aging research in Japan? Because Japanese already live pretty long, but what are the challenges in Japan of living longer?
So, how to say? So I will introduce my research on circadian clock on aging. So in our data, so when we use aged mice, so TTFL, that's the circadian clock gene oscillation is normal even in the super aged mice, but the circadian output is severely perturbed. So I want to know the mechanism, and similarly, as you may also show, so the chronic feeding, especially with high-fat diet, affects a similar phenotype. That means chronic high-fat diet causes abnormality of the circadian output.
Yeah.
And then I think that this common mechanism is underlying these two phenotypes. So do you have any idea about this?
So do you think that if we do chronic high sucrose diet, it will not happen?
So sorry.
So you said high fat diet. If we replace high fat with high sucrose, then
I didn't check. Sorry.
I see.
So in my data, chronic high fat diet and also aging part of the circadian output, but not circadian oscillation. That means circadian rhythm of clock. So I want to know the mechanism. So.
I see. Okay. Anyone else has any question? Please feel free to put it in the chat. Gary, any more questions, comments?
So I want to know the next goal of your research.
Next goal.
So you successfully identified melanopsin, that is a key molecule for the circadian input, and also you identify the TRF feeding schedule that is very nice for our health. So in my memory, several years ago, when I talked with you, you knew your goal is TRF. So how about now? So
well, the thing is, from discovery to reducing it to practice is a long road, and right now we have quite a few clinical trials. So one thing that we started doing is, when we started showing this time-restricted feeding benefits in mice and flies, then people didn't take us seriously. People thought that we got comments from the reviewers of our grant saying that humans eat within 12 hours, 3 meals, so our research has no significance. So we took that to our heart and then started this app called My Circadian Clock, which is an academic, non-profit, non-commercial app. And through that app, now we have built a very strong research infrastructure in a way that any researcher anywhere in the world can actually create a study for themselves and then use the platform to run clinical trials on the app, mostly used for time-restricted feeding. So now we have 18 or 19 ongoing clinical trials all over the world. And we're trying to test various concepts that we found in flies or mice. For example, the impact of time-restricted feeding on age-related cardiac decline or on diabetes, pre-diabetes, PCOS, cancer prehab, rehab, and during cancer treatment. So there are nearly 50 or 60 different disease conditions where time-restricted feeding can benefit. Plus, there is also a question of, can TRF synergize with medications or can they antagonize with medication? And these are very critical questions because all of us who are healthy and are not on medication, we can do time-restricted feeding. But what about people with type 2 diabetes? What about people who might have maybe taking a medication that may affect their gut function and other stuff? So that's why those research is needed, necessary, and human research takes a long time. So for the next few years, we will be busy with this human research. And at the same time, we're also continuing with the mouse stuff. So that's why we are still doing many mechanistic studies in mice. In addition, what we have also figured out is basic biomedical research has been mostly to study disease. And we learn biological principles from studying disease. What if we can flip the paradigm and say, can we study people who are extremely healthy? For example, elite athletes or people who are on peak on their peak performance. Just imagine how can somebody run a marathon almost every week and be healthy? What is the metabolism? What kind of brain function, gut function, all the stuff happen there. And so that's what is the new thing that's going on. And we are fortunate that we got a consortium funding, nearly $220 million to start this research in 6 different institutes and more additional institutes in future. And it's a 10-year project to understand health from studying the ultra fit mice, ultra fit human. So that's kind of the new thing that just started a few months ago. So we're super excited about that. And the idea is this: when we learn stuff from there, then we can, it's not only learning about health, it's also learning about injury, because almost all of us we must have experienced some kind of injury to our muscle, joints, ligaments. And as we age, although everybody knows that we can exercise, we can be physically active, once you're injured, once you have a lower back pain, once you go through a hip replacement or any kind of joint replacement, then that reduces the quality of life. And then we get stuck in a room, and we are immobile, and that substantially reduces quality of life and increases morbidity. So the total cost of musculoskeletal system injury itself in the US is close to $1 trillion, which is few-fold more than cancer treatment or cardiovascular disease treatment. So now the question is, if you can make a simple dent in that by predicting injury, by accelerating cure from injury, or diagnosing the right kind of injury, then you actually move the needle. And when you make people physically fit, then they can live at their peak physical, intellectual, and emotional performance. And that's actually the basic human right and basic human aspiration, to be in our peak performance at any stage of life. So circadian rhythm is one part, and but another part is this physical activity, that how can we improve that? How can we predict injury? Okay, so we got a question. Do you think microbiome is important for aging? If you have very specific topic regarding microbiome impacting circadian rhythm, that would be interesting. Yeah, these are all great questions. And there are studies showing the microbiome composition may change as we age. But then the question is, can microbiome accelerate aging? We know that microbiome can accelerate or decelerate the risk for many age-related diseases. So in that way, microbiome can indirectly affect aging process itself, because we always think that age-related disease, for example, cancer, is a result of aging. But at the same time, the flip side of the coin is, can the onset of cancer in the middle age accelerate the pace of aging? So similarly, can diabetes or cardiovascular disease accelerate the rate of aging? And the answer is yes, because all of these diseases, chronic diseases, reduce our intrinsic capacity, and it reduces our resilience, and in that way they can reduce aging. The microbiome impacting circadian rhythm, that's actually not well understood. Maybe Hikari, you can figure out which microbiome can support circadian rhythm and which one can disrupt. What we know is, if you deplete microbiome completely, then circadian rhythm is dampened. So we know that we need microbiome for a robust circadian rhythm, but we don't know which type of microbiome can support good circadian rhythm or bad circadian rhythm. Okay, Akihiro, your screen was... Any question, Vijay? comments?
No questions.
Can
Thank you.
you introduce yourself? Where are you?
I am a medical doctor and researcher, and have a medical experience of 40 years in India, in Karnataka state, Mysore. I am from Public Health Research Institute of India. There is a charitable trust, mainly working for public health. And recently, last year, we got the award, Yoga Healthy Aging Longevity Award. Yoga Healthy Aging, which reduces multimorbidity, award from National Aging, NIH award, we got it. Catalyst award, we got it. Public Health Research Institute of India.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Dr. Rahul Sindhia is one of the investigators. I am also one of the investigators. Dr. Purnima Madhivanan, Arizona University. She is also one of the investigators. Now we have started that work, Yoga Healthy Aging, which reduces multimorbidity in seniors. Nice to hear about you.
Yeah. Now it will be interesting to do some circadian lifestyle research in India, because as you know, in India, I don't know about Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, but in many northern states, people tend to eat their dinner very late at night, sometimes even beyond 10 o'clock at night. And then we also have a habit of waking up very early, because in India, people wake up pretty early and then have a cup of tea with biscuit. So in that way, we had done a very small study a few years ago in Delhi and adjoining region. And what we found is the median time window in which people eat in northern India was around 16 hours. Whereas a similar study in the US here in San Diego had found that the median time is around 14 hours, 45 minutes. So in India, people eat over a very long period of time. And also the diet is very carb rich because of rice.
Yes.
So it'll be exciting to maybe you can touch base with me later on to see whether we can do something in India.
Yes, that is true. Rice is the main thing and more carbohydrate. As you know, I am at present, I'm crossed 70 plus. But since 3 years, I started intermittent fasting. I avoided all carbo and more protein and fats diet I have started. And it gave a very fruitful result. In the first year, I reduced around 10 kg, slowly another 5 kg. Now I am leading a healthy life, actually active. Even now I'm working also. I'm doing my research work, active, moving here and there.
So when you say intermittent fasting, how do you eat?
Actually, I will skip the breakfast. 1:30 I will start. Up to 9 o'clock, my second and third fruits will be there. In that also, I avoid most of the time carbohydrate food. Sometime it will be included. Nowadays I am taking only 2 eggs in the lunch time, and about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, within 9 o'clock, I will little carbo will be added. Mostly some fiber content carbo that will be added. But usually, regularly, most of the time, I take 2 eggs only in the afternoon lunch.
Good. Yeah, what you call intermittent fasting is actually a very broad term. What you're doing is time-restricted eating or time-restricted feeding. That's the scientific term, and that started from my lab. So it's always nice to hear that somebody is following what we discovered in.
Yes, since 2019 onwards, I am following it.
So our original observation was in 2012 in mice, and then our first human study came out in 2015, and then then it has spread worldwide. It's always nice to hear somebody. Akihiro, your microphone is fine now. Do you have any?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for answering my question. I didn't know about the relationship between circadian rhythm and microbiome, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
So who is actually doing that kind of research? I mean, can you raise a specific name?
Yeah, so actually we had done one of those studies in my lab with Amir Jarinpar. I'll write his name here. He is now a faculty at University of California, San Diego, and he is continuing that research. And he's exactly asking what you're asking at the specific microbiome, or OTUs, the technical term, that can promote circadian rhythm. And he's measuring circadian rhythm in specific pathways that regulate bile acids and cholesterol homeostasis. So he's one, and then there are quite a few. There is a team in Israel. They also work on it, although they work on many different things. But Amir is entirely focused on circadian rhythm and microbiome.
So I heard, actually, also, sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Akihiro Okamoto, group leader in National Institute of Materials Science.
Yeah.
I'm an electrochemist, and I analyze bacteria by using electrochemical technique.
Oh.
So yeah, the redox activity of bacteria can be quantified by electrochemistry.
Wow.
And yeah, I got awarded for Catalyst Award for a microbiome sensor.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. We can quantify the activity of specific metabolic activity in the microbiome. So if you want to check the activity of like glucose oxidation or other metabolic oxidation, you can just add that substrate to your microbiome, and then these microbiome oxidize this substrate and are generated into energy. And I have a technique to extract those energy to electricity.
Wow.
So I can easily check.
I just put my email address and Amir's name also in the chat with you. So please connect with me.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my poster is also in the poster hall. So if you are interested in this kind of thing, please check. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty interested in this kind of thing because I heard that circadian rhythm is kind of associated with a redox activity of cell, and I think it's reasonable that a microbiome is giving some energy to cells, and the probably regulating some this kind of like rhythm as well. So yeah, it's really inspiring session. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we got a few seconds left, and I would like to thank everybody in this session to come and give your input, participate, and have a wonderful day. And remember to pay attention to your circadian rhythm, because this is one thing that you can do every single day. And it has a multi-solving, long-lasting positive impact on our health. And we're still learning a lot, but